All right, guys, I'd like to welcome you back to the second episode of Clickbait. With me today, I have Little Peace again. She's here to discuss a little bit further other topics that we wanted to talk with her about. We've also got the Bashful Scambaiter. I think I'm not sure if I told you this, but it reminds me of in India, they have movies, like I think Bollywood movies, where there's a tree and the girl kind of comes out behind the tree, goes like this, and then kind of hides, and then comes back here and kind of hides. But Bashful's avatar, that's kind of what it reminds me of. But I love it. So I'd like to welcome Bashful Scambaiter here as well. And as well, we've got everybody's favorite. What kind of dog is that again?
A Shiba Inu or a Doge, as some internet people call it.
Okay. So we've got Q here with us, SkeletonSyskey. He's also here as what we see him as normally, as a pup. I don't know, do your paws move at all or no?
No, it just
Okay.
tracks the face, so the
Awesome.
paws are static.
Static pause sounds good. All right, so we are gonna keep going here, guys, and have some questions that you guys have asked in the past with regards to scam baiting. So we want to bring in a lot of the scam baiters that you're familiar with, some that you may not be familiar with, as well as people within the community that would like to discuss stuff about scam baiting as well. So let's start off with we picked up last time, or we talked about last time, was about what the government, or what you think the government could be doing or should be doing in order to help stop scams or slow them down. Bashful Scambaiter, do you have any thoughts on what you feel the government should be doing or could be doing?
Well, I know right now it's kind of hard for the government to do much of anything other than the current issues that are most active and obviously the most important. But if they had more time and if we were in a perfect world, it would be nice if they would follow through with going after the companies that are allowing the scams to continue. For instance, gift cards. Trying to get companies that provide gift cards more become more proactive in their cards not being used for this. And then I know the FTC and some of the other government websites do have categories on their website that talk about scams and have news releases trying to remind people what to look for. And I think that if they made those more prominent and put more of an effort out there to publicize what is available on their websites, I think that would really help a lot. And it just seems like they're putting their effort out there to get the word out. I know in my area, at least the news I've noticed are putting more news items out on TV and the radio about scams and what to look for. But again, I think they just need to put a lot more effort into getting the word out.
Okay, yeah.
I wonder if the average person knows that that's kind of the U.S. government stance on this topic, is awareness is the solution. I wonder if they're frustrated with the fact that our government doesn't do more, is my thought.
Like the own government is frustrated with the own government?
No. If the average citizen is frustrated. I mean, we as scam baiters have a different view on things, but just the average person, they hear the news clips, the occasional, it comes up on the news, and they may see warnings in the store, but are they frustrated that the government doesn't do more to stop this?
I get
because there's no real recourse, so
I get a sense that they are, because if you look at the new people that come into chats, quite a few of them have commented that it's nice to see that something people out there are trying to do something. And you can tell from the way they interact with everyone in the chat rooms, they are frustrated. Both the ones who have been scammed or have had family members who were scammed, or who just are, concerned about it happening. So but again, I don't know the percentage of the people that come into the chats new. Compared to the ones out there that are also frustrated but not.
Have any of you? I know that in my videos in the past, like I used to put like a thing at the end, like a bumper at the end saying, contact for example, in Canada, the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center, to report these scams to people. And I remember having a conversation with I called the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center and had a good long conversation with a lady there, and she's just like, all we can basically do is take down the phone number that you're talking about and flag it down and talk to the provider or shut the number down. That's basically what she said. That's all we can do. And I kind of felt disappointed, I'm not gonna lie. I was like, that's it? Like, that's it?
They can take a report.
Yeah,
a lot of times that's the length, the extent of what they'll do here is they'll take a report. For us as scambaiters trying to report is, you have to have, for a crime, you have to have a victim and a perpetrator.
Right.
So because we're baiting, we're not true victims, even though we can produce basically evidence of a crime, it's not a true crime because we're not truly victims.
Right. Attempted robbery, I guess, right?
They'll take a report. You go onto these websites and they want a lot of information, and I just don't see where there's any follow through.
Right.
To me, it seems to be for statistic gathering purposes. But because it's not cost effective for them to intervene much, iTunes changed their policies on their card redemptions.
Oh, did they?
iTunes are no longer desirable to scammers.
Huh.
If iTunes can do it, why can't other companies?
You gotta believe in yourselves, other companies. You can do it too. Q, what's it like for you over there in England with the government?
Oh, well, it's very, very tricky and very cumbersome. I mean, when I first started out doing what I do, I did start by reporting them to, we have Action Fraud UK over here, so I used to let them know about these scams after I would bait them. I would have the video evidence and all that stuff, and they basically can't do anything. They're all hidden behind red tape and bureaucratic nonsense. So, not very promising, but that's the world we live in, I guess.
Yeah. I've been thinking about talking to, in Canada we have what are called MLAs, like member of legislative assembly, and so each section in, I guess in the States it would be like not your governor, but more like perhaps like a representative in your local area, I guess, like community. And I've been thinking about going and talking to my MLA and just being like, hey, listen, this is what we see. Mind you, in Canada, it's because the CRA scam has died down quite a bit. It's switched over to the Service Canada scam, but it's really not that prevalent here anymore. Neither is there were some Rona virus scams going on up here too. Now it's more of just for the check, that's being issued to people here to help with support. That's kind of, but again, even that, it's hard to come by as well for me. So I don't really see that as often. So I don't know how serious they will take me going to them and talking to them. But I think in the States, it's really prevalent in the States.
Exactly. I guess one reason with the States is that it's much more easier to have access to telephone lines from from an international point of view, it's easier to get an American telephone line than it is to get, say, a British one because due to legislation and whatnot.
Yeah, that's true too. Makes it easier for scammers to dupe numbers and all that kind of stuff as well. So do any of you know, or have you ever, do you know anybody who's been scammed, or have you ever like personally known someone who's been scammed at all in that sense?
I haven't known anyone personally, just the people I have talked to online, but no one personally.
Other than this guy Luke, who got lured into a park recently, he almost got scammed, but that worked out all right. I don't know anyone personally.
Well, speaking of that, Little Peace, I think I heard the same or similar thing happened. This guy named Day or
it happened to me.
Something like that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I know that might be another one we're going to have to start.
Yeah. You see,
out there,
it just takes the right scam at the right moment, and anyone can fall for it.
I'm a sucker for turtles, man. I'm telling you right now. That guy told me he lost his turtle, and yeah.
Just being the good guy, I know.
Q, do you know anyone who's ever been scammed personally?
Not personally, no. Well, at least when I first started out, I didn't know anybody who'd been scammed by any of these like tech support people or whatnot. But I did know about people who got cold calls from people pretending to say, we're going to shut off your internet in 24 hours if you don't comply, and like luckily for the people I do know who've received those calls, they haven't actually gone through with any connection. So that's one good thing.
Yeah, definitely.
I think, and this is part of all of this that bothers me, is that somehow they have access to data that lets them target seniors. I can house sit for my mother, and she gets calls. I mean, regardless whether I'm there or not. But just recently there was you're being sued, and it was very serious sounding. You're being sued. This is your case number and reference number, and it was like a 2-digit number. It was really odd. And it was left on a message. It cut off pretty quick. I called it back on spoof, on a VoIP, and couldn't really get through. It wanted, they wanted the verification number, which I didn't want to connect back to her in any way. And then the guy was just very abrupt and rude, and really, I couldn't bait him. I wasn't in a position to bait him, but I knew that he was a scammer and that he was contacting my mother and using scare tactics. I mean, he's very serious sounding. And I know my mom, in her current good mental state, isn't going to fall for it. But I can't foresee the future. And I could see where some seniors could definitely fall for it. And I do see that they target seniors. She gets multiple calls from multiple scammers. She gets the grandpa call. She gets the Windows call. She gets the refund call. She's gotten the SSA call. She's gotten them all.
Wow.
So, and they don't call my house phone. I'm not a senior. They don't call my house phone. They call her house phone.
I wonder how they have access to that, all that kind of information.
I don't know.
It's kind
of. But I would like to know, because it's obvious to me that they have it.
Yeah. I know that. Yeah. Go ahead.
Considering the fact that there are American Mules, that the scammers are using. Who's to say that there aren't the same types of American people who are obtaining that information and then selling it to scammers?
Very true.
And you can obtain that information very easily. You go to a senior center and or any other events where it brings together the majority of seniors and have ways of obtaining that personal information.
I don't think my mother's involved in any specific senior activities. I mean, she's involved in a lot of stuff, but
senior activities.
It's all from before she became a senior, if that makes sense.
Sorry, when you said senior activities, it sounded like suspicious activities to me. You know how they say that kind of stuff? But,
Does she ever sign things like petitions?
No.
Oh, okay.
So that's a good point.
No, because they're a scam.
Well, that's a good point though that Bashful brings up. It's like you got to be aware of what you're signing. You know, when you're signing for stuff. You know, I know SkeletonSyskey. You have a very low key online profile. Is that correct?
Yeah, you could say that. I stopped using Facebook over 2 years ago, and I think that was more or less my only social media thing back in the day.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's crazy because you know, even on something like Facebook, people post stuff like you know, you have to be aware. Like, it's so important, but like, be very, very aware of things that will fish out information from you, right? Even like your birth date, where you graduated, where you went to school, because people can find lots of information about you and somehow, some way, you know, turn it against you. And I think of this might be the case for some seniors. Like, I know people in my family, they like I tell my uncle lives with my grandparents. They're in their 90s. And I tell them all the time, I'm like, listen, if someone ever calls and it says they're from the government, do not give them any information. You know, my grandparents are well versed in that sense. I mean, their English is not very good looking either, but at the same time, it gives them an opportunity to know that someone's looking out for them. And you know, I'm trying to do my part to make sure that my circle is, you know, protected and kind of knows that it's possible that is happening. But I think a lot of seniors don't realize, like, you know, the older people that are on there would be something like, hey, are you Mary from blah 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 high that, you know, had this teacher as your favorite teacher and we used to go to this restaurant together at lunchtime? You know, like, when you fish out information like that and then people come back like, yes, that was me, my sister's name was Jane and my brother's name was Joe and blah blah blah. You know, it's like you're opening up yourself to being very susceptible with a lot of information that you're sharing on there, because some people just don't know, right? They don't know that all the stuff that they're saying could actually be used against them, I guess.
Exactly. I mean, like, just to give like one hypothetical example, say an old person isn't on many social media platforms, but they decide to go to, I don't know, Pizza Hut with their grandchild, and their grandchild is either on TikTok or whatever the kids use nowadays, and saying, yeah, I'm here celebrating my grand's 90th birthday or something. And so, like, from that one post, you know where the old person is, their name, their birth date, and so that's a lot of information right there.
I agree. People give up a lot of information without thinking. I personally will only ever tell you of an adventure after it's happened.
Right.
I don't advertise if I'm leaving or where I'm going. I don't put, when I do the Facebook thing, I didn't put any information. I didn't fill in any of that stuff. And my facial profile was always from the back, because that image that you share is public.
Mm.
All your others you can set to private. But that one, once you put that image out there, that's public domain at that point, and it stays out there. So I never put one.
Have you guys ever seen on Facebook, this goes around, I see it all the time, where people go, I do not give Facebook permission to use my photos, this, that, and the other. It was on the Channel 3 news, and you have until tomorrow to... There's this thing that goes around that people post.
Yeah.
And like I see it all the time, and I have to like tell people, I'm like, listen, this is also part of the way that scammers are looking to see who's susceptible to being scammed, right? Because if they search that message up, they'll see who's shared it, and it's like, okay, this is like somewhat of a gullible person. Like it's not when you go on a social media platform, you kind of don't own your stuff anymore. Like most of us don't read the fine print on like any apps that we really download, right? We don't. And we don't see all the stuff that we're sharing with these companies. Like you can go into your app manager, you can see all the stuff, the information that you're sharing, your contacts, your messages, your location, right? All this kind of stuff. It can kind of be scary. You just have to, I'm not saying walk around like on eggshells, but just be aware of what you're posting, because like, SkeletonSyskey said, it's possible someone's taking a TikTok like, hey, I'm here celebrating my grandma's 90th birthday. And then the grandma's right there, and the scammer goes like, oh, there's that kid has a 90-year-old grandma. Let me fish through their profile and see if I can find another image of their grandparent.
Right.
It's kind of freaky.
Yeah, I know when I see friends or family members on places like Facebook, and like you said, they post or they share one of those messages about Facebook images and so forth, I immediately will DM them, let them know, don't do that. It's fake. And unfortunately, they've already done it, but at least it lets them know next time a little more alert and aware of what they're sharing.
Yeah. Do you guys, is there any part of scambaiting that you find sort of intimidating to you in any which way?
That's a hard one. Not intimidated. I know for me, it makes me work harder if they keep insisting what they're doing is not scamming. They try to give all the different so-called proof or justifications of why they're doing what they're doing and why it's not really scamming. So that's not really an intimidation. So I guess. No, go ahead.
I think like the most intimidating factor for me is because I'm doing a lot of live streaming, and when I have a scammer connected on a virtual machine, for example, I'm always on edge, because I know at any point they could either bring up something really adult on the virtual machine, and of course I'm displaying that live, so that's never good, or they could attempt to like get the IP address of where I am or anything. But I mean, even using a VPN, there's always that little risk of something may go wrong, because of course it is live, and once it's there, it's there.
Very true.
That's true.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons that I don't ever plan to have a VM. I'll still do tech calls and push them as far as I can without having a VM. Yeah, that fear of VM failing at any point. Yeah, that's what keeps me from doing it. That's why I admire those who do use one, because I realize it does take a lot of detail work to make sure that you've covered all your bases.
Little Peace, you were going to say?
Yeah, I will say in the beginning, I was intimidated. This was all like way outside my comfort zone. So making the initial phone calls, my heart would race. Over time, I learned that it was okay if you called a number and it was a legitimate business. It wasn't really a scam, because you just respond with, "Oh, I'm sorry, I've misdialed. I'm sorry to bother you." Simple as that. And the calls ended and life goes on. But in the beginning, it would really freak me out if I accidentally called somebody that was a legitimate company. Over time, that all went away. And now it's more like just shock. Some of the stuff they will do, even though I think I've heard it all, well, because I've entered this text realm recently.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I will use my text now to test a number. And especially if it's a number that wants a message left, leave a message. So I use my text now for that. Leave a message, they call me back, or they don't. But I got a text, and this guy was like, "Pay up or else." Like, or else what? You know, the information will be released, and we the whole thing, because eventually I will post it as a video. It's pretty jaw-dropping. He ended up sending me images of severed heads. I kid you not. Like,
the heck's wrong with some people?
Severed heads.
Seriously,
I was a little bothered.
Some people's kids, man. Yeah.
I was bothered.
Wow.
But not intimidated.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, like, I even like doing something like this, I have always found technology for me intimidating. I don't know if you can hear me properly this time, you know, like last time it was like everyone's like, "We can't hear Deo," and I'm like, I don't know. I'm trying to talk louder this time, to be honest. I'm trying to like be really loud. But most of the time, the thing that's intimidating to me is technology. Like what Bashful said is, I can do a tech call or refund call and just, you know, take it as far as I can, like, you know, www what, you know, like, I don't understand, right? Like, you know, like, I can do that, but I don't have a virtual machine. I've tried setting one up. I don't know what I did wrong, and now they won't let me like try to redo it. And I've been trying to redo it, and I'm like, it's telling me I'm missing something, and I'm like, I'm not even sure what I'm missing. So I find, for me, technology has been very, very bad to me. Or I have been very bad at learning technology, I guess is the better way to say it. But there are some.
Stay away from it.
Yeah, like even this, like, you know, when we were trying to set this up, like, you know, with what we were trying to do earlier, it was like, okay, no, there's an echo. Okay, how do we get rid of the echo and all that other kind of stuff? So it can be, for me, the intimidating part is, I don't mind calling scammers. The thing that I've always been afraid of is when they tell me when I don't have a virtual machine, but let's say, for example, I'm sharing my screen or I'm actually trying to type something into the thing to see where it takes me, is I'm always afraid that they're going to actually send me to a site that doesn't require a like a password. You know, like how some of them say, what numbers do you see there? Blah, blah, blah. Give me the numbers so that we can kind of connect our computers together.
Oh, a captcha.
Yeah, I'm always afraid that they're going to send me to a site that will automatically capture it, and then I'll be like, oh, crap, like, now they're onto my host computer or something along those lines, and then I'm like, crap, like, I'm screwed now, right? That, to me, is very, like SkeletonSyskey is like, yes, they could go on your VM and put some very disgusting images on and whatnot, right? Not safe for work kind of stuff, and you know, your audience is gonna see that. I'm always afraid that they're not only going to do that, but that they're going to take it to like the point where they can actually somehow, some way get a hold of my host computer. So I'm still trying to learn how to like set it up so that I'm going to bring the mic closer just in case, but I'm trying to set it up so that I know what I'm doing a little bit better, while at the same time keeping myself safe, right? Like I do use a VPN. I do notice, I don't know if SkeletonSyskey, I don't know if you use a VPN, but do you use a VPN?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you noticed, but like whenever I go to certain websites, it won't let me go on certain websites because it realizes that it's a VPN being used, and it'll tell me like you have to disable your VPN in order to access this website.
Yeah, there are websites like, I think Netflix, maybe one of them. They're geo-locked.
Yeah. So, you have to be careful.
They can recognize the IPs of the VPN servers all over the world.
So you're safe, but kind of.
Yeah, you're safe, but there's still stuff that you can't get to and whatnot.
Right on.
I love that. You're safe, but.
Yeah, you're safe, but have any of you? Okay, this past summer, Little Peace, you and I both contacted this gentleman. Do you remember the guy that got? We were all listening to UFO Pilot's stream. Do you remember that? Could you want to tell people a little bit about that particular time that you tried contacting the victim and kind of what happened?
We were hearing him being scammed, and we did our best to intervene. At one point, his number was said by the scammer, so everybody in the stream heard it, and we started calling and texting him to try to stop him. It didn't work out that time. We were figuring out where he was, which stores he might be going to. There was 2 in the area. A lot of people worked really hard to stop that, and we just couldn't. We were not able to get there in time, and he read off those codes. He read the codes to the scammer, and he was taken.
Yeah.
He was a really nice man. He was no longer lived in the U.S. full time. He spent a lot of his time out of the country and dealt a lot with children. He had his little adopted community and children he was funding and providing their schooling items and various things, and that was the money that the scammers took.
Yeah. Did you get this out of him? Because I when I was talking to him, one of the things that he said to me is, he said, we were all messaging him, we were all trying to call him, and we were basically bombarding his system, I guess, his phone. And he panicked. He got really scared. And the scammers said those are hackers, and they're trying to get into your account. And that intimidated. When I talked to him, he told me this. He told me that it was everyone messaging him saying those people are scammers. He felt like it was everyone telling him that anyone who messaged him was a scammer, right? So it confused him. And it opened up my eyes to the fact that while it's important that we try to help a victim, I know Jim Browning did a video where he called a victim, right? And I think those are probably things that we need to do more of. It's great to I don't delete files. I don't have, again, I'm technologically challenged. I admire those that are able to do that kind of stuff, but I think that to take it to the next level, to actually help not make restitution, because you can't really help that as much. But
intervene.
I think, yes, if you can intervene and just I know Lewis Tech is doing a lot of that right now.
It isn't that easy, though. I've had 2 other occasions where, not publicly, the number, we kind of did it behind the scenes. And the one woman I talked to, and it was tech scams. They were trying to get on their computers. It's hard to convince people in that moment. It's not just that simple as, oh my goodness, ma'am, you're being scammed. Trust me. There's a lot of confusion. It takes some effort to say the right things, because I don't want to come off as a scammer. I don't want to scare her. I also don't want her to give me up.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's I'm warning you, I'm telling you these things, but I'm going to ask you to not tell him. Okay. I just want you to disconnect with him. Don't give him any information, yada, yada. The other guy they were on his laptop. They got him through a pop-up. He was pissed. he was not grateful. He was not happy to be talking to me. I had to actually work and trick him into even answering my call. Wow. I had to use the scammer's phone number as my spoof number to get him to talk to me. Yeah. And it was a new laptop. He didn't know a lot about laptops. He was very angry. And he never once said thank you. It was not a pleasant, like, glorifying moment. It was very intense, very intense.
That sounds.
And I didn't want to
intense.
screw it up, you know.
Yeah.
You want to get it right and just help these people, but I don't have a script. So I wung it. I was winging it. I winged it.
I wung it. That's good though. Like, but you were doing your best, right? And I think that ultimately that's all we can do, right? Is try our best to prevent people from being scammed. And you know, as scambaiters, I know that we pride ourselves on helping people, you know, become aware of scams and at the same time waste scammers' time. And I think that, you know, it's very noble to try to call a victim and be like, please, you know, I know you don't know who I am, but you also don't know who they are. And they're trying to scam you. It's a tough conversation to have for sure.
It is.
So last week we talked with Dr. Fell and Mistress and Little Peace as well, and we mentioned like what got them into scambaiting. So let me ask. We'll go with Bashful first, and then we'll go to SkeletonSyskey. But how did you come across scambaiting, and what made you decide to start scambaiting?
Okay, excuse me. I had always known there were scammers out there. You know, I'd see things on the news or articles about people getting calls from scammers. And first I was hearing about the people who were just playing around with the scammers, you know, blowing a whistle or screaming at them or things like that. But I never really knew there was a scam baiting community. Mm-hmm. And one day I received in a list of suggested videos on YouTube, one of Adam's videos. Wow. And so I went and watched it. And at the time I thought, why is this a suggested one? What have I been watching that even remotely is, you know, related to this? It was fascinating to watch. Well, first of all, a lot of people like Adam. They like the way he works, and he's not bad to look at. And so I'll admit that. And just the more I watched him, I wanted to watch more. I think the second one I saw of his was when he did the collaboration with Music is a Rainbow. Mm-hmm. And I thought, wow, this is incredible. I didn't know there were people out there doing this. I mean, other than just the pranks. And so it just really got me hooked in watching more and more. And then watching the live streams and getting to know people. And I thought, this is a wonderful thing to do. And so after watching videos for about a year, I thought, oh, let me give it a try. You know, I used to do theater, so maybe I can use a little of that. And once I started making the calls, I thought, wow, this really is making a difference. It maybe in just a small way, but it's like we tell everyone, every minute that you keep a scammer busy is a minute that they're not going after a true victim. That's what got me started.
Awesome. How about you, Q?
Wow, it's quite a long story, I guess, but I'll see if I can condense it down as much as I can. About 10 years ago or so, I used to watch a TV show called Phone Jacker over here, and this was the guy who would put on voices and basically prank call people. But one of his characters was called George Agdugdugrengo, and he was an African gentleman claiming to be from like a money transfer place and whatnot, trying to get people's account numbers and details like that. So I was watching a few of those videos on YouTube, and then stuff by Mr. Pricky started to be suggested because, of course, of the old African routine, Western Union, that kind of thing. And so from there, I started to watch stuff about Kofi Mensah and all of those people. And of course, YouTube would then suggest people like Adam and whatnot. And also, because I was quite interested in tech at the time, well, I still am, obviously, it recommended a video by, I can't quite remember. I think it was actually Thundertech. He did one called like Scammer versus Mems Trojan, and he had a virtual machine up. The Mems virus was running, flashing as it does, and there was a scam on the phone shouting at him saying, "I'm going to make your mother a very big prostitute," and whatnot. And it was quite entertaining. I found it entertaining. And of course, he used to do a lot of work with Lewis back in a few years ago or something. Lewis tended to do live streams on Sunday, so I started watching that on a Sunday. And from there, I learned more about the tech scams and whatnot, and then I started to think, I've got a VM here, because I had a VM to test a few techie things out anyway. And I came across Jim's video about Jim Browning, about how to make your VM stealthy for Scambaiting. I thought, this is something that I could do. So I started doing a weekly live stream on my old channel, and then I thought, I'm doing a lot of this, I'll just make an entire channel based on it. And that's more or less how I started, I guess.
Oh, that's crazy. Has there ever been a time where you have found like scammers can say some pretty nasty things, right? And you have to kind of trying to keep your cool with a scammer so that they know that you're not necessarily affected by what they're saying. But has there ever been a time where you've really wanted to just lose it on a scammer?
I had a scammer call my house the day I found out George had passed away. Survivor Man.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And I went off, and I let her have it. How disgusting I thought she was. And I told her about George and what he had done with his life and what I thought about her. And I ranted until she hung up. It was very emotional. That was the only time, though.
Imagine that would have been extremely hard to not blow up that day.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, she picked the wrong day to call.
Yeah, she did. Definitely. I'm glad that you told her like what he had done with his life, because I think, I don't know how to say this, man, but I know a lot of people don't sympathize with scammers, and you shouldn't. I was born in a third world country, and I know what it's like to struggle. Like, we were middle class, and there were times where my mom, she would go off to work for like weeks on end, and so I would stay with like my aunts and my uncles and stuff, and my mom would go to work, and her work took her out of town. Then she'd come back for like a week, and then she'd go back out of town, and so forth and so on. And there were times where maybe this is too much information, but there were times where we wouldn't have toilet paper, and I was like 4 or 5 years old, and I had to find something to wipe my butt with, and we would just use like flyers or newspaper or whatever to be able to wipe your butt. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I look at the hustle that my mom put in to better our situation to get us to a point where we could come to Canada. So when these scammers are like, it's hard here, I don't sympathize at all with it. I know what it's like to not, like have stuff, if that makes sense. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So when they're like, there's nothing I can do, my mom is sick, this, that, and the other, I'm like, I don't, like, it's not that I don't buy it, it's just like, to me, I'm like, but you can do something, you know what I mean? It just, that's where I want to really lose it on a scammer, right? That's when I want to just, I want to lose it on them, but at the same time, I want to be like, I want to see if I can somehow, some way permeate that freaking disgusting mindset of I have to scam people to survive, right? This is a job. This is how I make my living, right? I always feel like I just want to freaking like just rip on them, but at the same time, I'm like, I want to pour belief into them that they are better than what they're settling for, and that they can do better, and they are better than what they're doing, right? And that's kind of like when I lose it, I because if you watch my channel, I think damn is probably like the worst word that I say on my channel, right? But I don't really swear on my channel, so I don't want to lose it like that on them. I want to see if somehow, some way, it probably won't, it'll probably just go in one ear and out the other, but I know that that's who I am, and that's how I want to convey myself to the world, but I also want to convey myself to the scammer that way, because maybe that's what someone said to my mom, to help her say like, hey, you don't have to stay in this third world country where Deo might not have all these opportunities, but you can go to Canada, a great country like Canada, where he can go and do something great with his life, and that's ultimately like, that's why I don't know, I want to lose it sometimes on the scammers, but I don't. I'm tempted to though, but I don't. Terry, you ever have any of those kinds of feelings at all?
None to the extreme that, for instance, the Little Peace described.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, there are times that I'll just get so angry that they are so insistent that what they're doing is, once they have admitted that, yeah, I'm a scammer, and they still have no qualms with doing it. I've had several that I like the money, I like stealing from people. And yeah, that gets me angry. But I guess I've never lost it. It just makes me want to, like you said, try to find some way of getting them to think. I mean, really honestly think what they're doing and how it is affecting other people. And I guess because I am so family oriented, I'll try to use, what a few of the scambaiters do. What would you feel if this was your mother or your father,
right,
or anyone that you love being treated this way? Would you feel? And again, like you say, Deo, I'm sure 99.9% of the time it goes in one ear and out the other, and they hang up and go on to doing what they're doing. But I guess there's that part of me that hopes that something is thinking in, or will make them think. But yeah, I haven't had any that I would call as really extreme anger.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it all angers me what they're doing.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, the one, and I've never had it because we haven't been able to do or get involved in any of the grandparent scams, but in listening to those actually happening, like we've been able to hear on UFOs channel, those are absolute, those get me so angry. Again, it's not one that I've ever actually participated in.
Oh, Grandpa, it's me. Oh man, I freaking, when I hear that, I want to throw my phone across the room.
Right.
For sure. I've noticed SkeletonSyskey. I noticed with you, you're not losing it necessarily, but sometimes when you're talking to scammers, it makes me laugh when you're like talking to them and you're saying something to them and they don't really hear you and you're like, bloody hell, like, you know, you've said this already, right? Like, I forget, I bust out laughing so much whenever I hear, oh, are you kidding me? You know, like, you've said it, like, I already told you that, you know, like, sorry if I'm doing a bad English accent, but
it's great.
but you know, has there been any time where you've actually felt like you're gonna lose it on a scammer?
Well, you know, recently I've been re-uploading some of the older material and whatnot to my channel. I've been going through some of my archives, and I've noticed that in my early days of scambaiting, I was a lot more angry, I guess you could say, but not really angry. I was a bit more vocal about my how can I say, acute displeasement towards the scammers and how they were acting. Yes, I think I've
acute displeasement. What the hell is great vocabulary.
I was gonna say, I love the words.
It's not chronic. It's acute.
You comes up right.
Great word.
Oh, that's awesome. And Q, you do have they're called Q's Classics that you put on your channel. So I'm a member to SkeletonSyskey's channel, and we have early access if you don't know that already. But it's awesome to see the videos before they go live for everyone else, and it's then really cool to see when they premiere and join everyone in the chat. So guys, I want to thank you guys so much. I appreciate all your thoughts today, and thank you for this little discussion that we had. I appreciate all of you and for all the work that you do, you know, behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, for the calls that you make, and for the way that you do your best to help people. And please make sure that if you haven't checked out Little Peace's channel, make sure you go check it out. Make sure you go check out SkeletonSyskey's channel over there as well, and the Bashful Scambaiter over here as well. All great scambaiters, so please make sure you check them out. I want to thank you all so much for being here, and we will talk to you guys later. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Peace. Thank you, members.